Hello and welcome to the program from the National Assembly, House of Representatives. I am Itaire Ikwen. The 10th House of Representatives has commenced the business of legislation in full swing as several bills have passed first reading on the floor of the House. Motions adopted so far are directed at strengthening internal security and bridging infrastructural gaps. We now bring you highlights of one of the plenaries.
Lord of heaven and earth, we beseech thee to inspire and guide all our courses and actions, so that we always work in the path of justice, love, and charity to one another. Help us with thee grace to do only those things that will promote the unity, peace, happiness, and prosperity of Nigeria. Amen. I pledge to Nigeria, my country, to be faithful, loyal, and honest, to serve Nigeria with all my strength, to defend our unity and uphold our honor and glory. So help me God.
House commenced plenary with a 2-hour closed-door session, followed by an announcement by the Speaker on the screening of service chiefs.
Honorable colleagues, we are going into executive session, and I will advise that all non-members should please vacate for some few minutes to enable us discuss some issues privately. This is an announcement from the clerk, and the announcement reads as follows: appointment of acting deputy clerk, administration for the House of Representatives. This is to inform the House that the National Assembly Service Commission has appointed Mr. Rollins Agada Emmanuel as the acting deputy clerk administration with effect from 19th June 2023, signed Dr. Yad Anzaria, Clerk, House of Representatives. Amendment is concerning the constitution of an ad hoc committee to screen the military chiefs. And I have the pleasure of informing you that Honorable Jimmy Benson will chair the ad hoc committee, and all principal officers, both from the majority and minority, will be members of that committee. Any member who has a petition to present to the House may please do so.
I rise to present a petition that was sent through my office by Adrena Todd of the Dispatch Risk Advisory, all the way from St. Petersburg, Florida. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, this is a petition for release or deportation of Thaddeus Ted Onwe Ebulem with passport number A50594218 from Libya. Mr. Speaker, he was reportedly arrested and taken into custody of the Libyan police on April 1st, 2023 in Benghazi. And since then, his wife, who resides in the city, has not been permitted to see him. There have been no official charges nor indications upon which this Nigerian is being detained, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, Mr. Onwe Ebulem has resided in Libya for much of his adult years and often assisted Nigerians in crisis. He's a man of integrity. Mr. Speaker, the intervention of this honorable House will avert continued human rights abuse and possible coercion. I hereby plead with Mr. Speaker and this honorable House for the leave to lay this petition. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable, please go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, I have with me a petition from the Apo Traders Association seeking the intervention of this great chamber regarding their unfair an unjust and incessant relocation from one part of Abuja to another, and the refusal of the Federal Capital Territory Administration to grant them a permanent right of occupancy in the Federal Capital Territory after several years of their application. Mr. Speaker, they routed this petition through me and my humble colleagues, Honorable Matthew Onwogu, Honorable Tochukwu Okere, Honorable Keke Jonas, Honorable Agwocha Obinna, Honorable Peter Aniekwe, Honorable Sikama Nkemekama. Mr. Speaker, I seek the leave of this great house to lay the petition.
From Orem Tennis Academy, by way of summary, it's a registered non-profit organization based in Abuja that discovers and nurtures young talents in the sports of tennis. Mr. Speaker, they've identified a young prodigy in the under-14 category who is a kinsman from my state. His name is Ogunshaki Oluwaseun Peter, to participate in a tourney and training in France. This young boy has been unfairly denied a visa under the Schengen Protocol, and it's a great opportunity for him to be able to move ahead in his career. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I would like to seek leave to lay this petition before the House.
Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning under Order 8, Rule 4, matter of urgent public importance, and it's about urgent need to create immediate public awareness and activate emergency response to the outbreak of diphtheria disease in the country. Mr. Speaker, this particular disease is a new one. So far, it has killed about 80 persons. And I believe as a House, it is our duty to intervene to ensure that we direct relevant agencies to activate awareness so that more death will not be recorded in the next couple of days. Mr. Speaker, I move that our relevant rules be suspended to enable me to take this motion. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder?
The House that this particular motion was taken at the last legislative day of last week. And I'm sorry, if I knew this was the motion, I would have discussed with my colleague, but I'm sure it was taken and passed by the House last week, Mr. Speaker.
Yeah. So, with your permission, we'll step it down, right? So, motion stepped down by the leave of the House.
There were also motions condemning fresh attacks on the plateau.
Honorable Bagos, you have a matter of urgent public importance. Please go ahead.
Mr. Speaker, right honorable colleagues, my motion, I'm standing on Order 8, Rule 4, on the motion of urgent public importance on the need for urgent intervention of killings in Jos South, Jos East Federal Constituency of Plateau State. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
The Speaker rise to second the motion as moved by my honorable colleague. I so second.
Any seconder on the second leg of the motion for the suspension of our House rules?
I rise to second the second leg of the motion, that this motion is urgent and should be taken right away. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Right now, you should say aye. Aye. Those against, you say nay. The ayes have it. Honorable colleague, you can go ahead.
There were also motions condemning fresh attacks on the plateau.
Mr. Speaker, right honorable colleagues, the House notes that Chapter 4 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, guarantees the right of life, dignity of persons, and property of all citizens, as well as security and safety. Aware that despite the provision of the security and right to life by the Constitution, there has been an increase in the rate of insecurity and killing of innocent souls by persons who have been tagged as suspected herdsmen in Nigeria, of which my state and my constituency has been part of the areas so much affected. Aware also that attacks has been occurring in some parts of Plateau State for some months now, with crops in farmlands completely destroyed. Further aware that 7 miners from my constituency were gruesomely killed in cold blood on the 9th of July 2023 around Ferenlamba of Jos South, Plateau State, after coming back from their mining site. Concerned that most of my people live in fear of the unknown due to insecurity and can no longer access their farmlands and their mining sites. Further concern that unless the issue of insecurity is handled with doggedness at all levels in the country, citizens will experience food shortage, as Plateau is one of the main producers of food crops in the country. The House do resolve that the House should observe 1 minute of silence in solemn respect to the victims who lost their lives during the attack. Mandate the Inspector General of Police to investigate and ensure culprits are prosecuted. Mandate Operation Safe Haven to identify and evacuate all cells of bandits within the state. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
We will not go into debate on all our motions today, unless if you want us to step down some. We only go for amendments, if any, to the prayers, and then we'll put the question. So please, let's take note of that. If there is any amendment to the prayers of the mover, you can raise up your hand, otherwise we can put the question. Any amendment? Amendment?
I rise with a very heavy heart to propose an amendment to this prayer. Mr. Speaker, the people of Plateau are very, very disheartened over the killings that have been occurring.
Please, can you go ahead to the prayer? Just amend the prayer, please. We don't have time, Honorable Benny.
It's for the Office of the National Security Advisor. Handle the killings going on in Plateau State as a national emergency because of the gravity of which these killings are being done and the constant reoccurrence. I believe if the Office of the National Security Advisor comes into this, there will be a difference. He needs to coordinate all the relevant security agencies to forestall
this
further
prayer
killings.
is too long. Honorable Benny, last amendment, any seconder?
I rise to second the motion raised by Honorable amendment raised by the Honorable La. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Say aye. Aye. Those against you say nay. The ayes have it. So shall we rise for a minute silence in honor of the departed souls? May the soul of the departed rest in peace. Amen.
The last legislative day that I moved the motion on number 13 of the order paper, but surprisingly, when these activities of this House was reported, I was surprised that the media, in their reportage, reported that I'm a PDP man. That, Mr. Speaker, has caused a lot of embarrassment, not on me alone, but has caused a serious uproar in my constituency. Mr. Speaker and distinguished honorable colleagues, I am a bona fide member of APC, blood APC, and for emphasis, a foundation member of the party, a former state chairman of this party, and have served in various capacities in APC. Therefore, I want such reports to be corrected with immediate effect.
And those media houses should retract such report immediately, or I want the protection of the House to enjoin me and seek redress. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
You may wish to please send your request to the Committee on Ethics and Privilege. Thank you.
Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Electric Power Sector Reform Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Nigerian Red Cross Society Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Nigerian Mining Corporation Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Chartered Institute of Finance and Control of Nigeria Establishment Bill 2023, first reading. Maritime Security Operations Coordinating Brand Act 2023, first reading. Coastal and Inland Shipping Cabotage Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Police Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Federal Polytechnic Inyakshan Dam Establishment Bill 2023, first reading. Nigeria Police Force College Training School and Institution Establishment Bill 2023, first reading. National Tobacco Control Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. National Food Reserve Agency Establishment Bill 2023, first reading. Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. Federal Medical Center, Ali Mosho, Lagos State Establishment Bill 2023, first reading. Federal Medical Center, Kosofi, Lagos State Establishment Bill 2023, first reading. National Infrastructure Management and Maintenance Agency Bill Act, Repeal and Enactment 2023, first reading. Federal Medical Centers Act Amendment Bill 2023, first reading. National Agency for the Control of Cancer Establishment Bill 2023, first reading.
Need to halt the Central Bank of Nigeria's directives on addition of social media handle or know your customer requirement, standing in the names of Honorable Oke Chinda and 6 others. Honorable Chinda is hereby invited to move the motion.
There were reservations about the CBN Know Your Customer policy.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, this is a motion on notice on the need to halt the Central Bank of Nigeria's directive on addition of social media handle on Know Your Customer requirements. Mr. Speaker, the motion is brought by the following co-sponsors: Honorable Lauri Beatrice Kwamoti, Honorable Kelechi Wogu, Honorable Ginger Umusibe, Honorable Mark Esset, Honorable Abu Salam Dasuki, Victor Obuzo, Blessing Amade, and Honorable Fred Abadi. Mr. Speaker, with your leave, relying on Order 8, Rule 15, I will pray that one of the co-sponsors be allowed to move the motion. Let me ask that Honorable Kelechi Wogu be allowed to move the motion. With your leave, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, sir.
Please go ahead.
I'll go straight to the motion, Mr. Speaker. Note the recent directive by the Central Bank of Nigeria to commercial banks on the addition to social media handles on Know Your Customer requirement, thus making it mandatory for commercial banks to comply. We are aware that recently the Central Bank of Nigeria released its Customer Due Diligence Regulation 2023, noting the importance of social media handles on Know Your Customer would galvanize compliance with anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing provisions. Also note that obtaining the additional information would be useful to financial institutions in assessing customers' online presence and activities, thus enabling better assessments of potential risks associated with the money laundering, terrorism financing, and professional financing. Right on this, we observe that as laudable as this directive may appear, may also be unnecessary, as it's likely to bear pressure on teeming Nigerian masses at this trying period. Cognizant of the fact that this directive by CBN is in conflict with the provision of Section 37 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended on the right to privacy of citizens. Also cognizant of the fact that the banks in the country already have the names, telephone numbers, passport photographs, email, national identification number, biometrics verification number, utility bills, and other basic requirements with which to identify, know, and monitor their customers. Mr. Speaker, we also took further cognizance that there are better means of monitoring money laundering, terrorism financing, and proliferation financing, such as the Nigerian Police Force, Nigerian Financial Intelligence, with the Economic Financial Crime Commission, EFCC. Right, Mr. Speaker, we also worried that if the directive takes effect, Nigerians who are not on social media with large turnovers from their businesses and trades would be compared to or systematically excluded from formal banking system with its attendant negative effect and implications. Right, Mr. Speaker, we also worried about the untold hardship this directive will cost millions of Nigerians, especially the illiterate or semi-illiterate business owners, traders, entrepreneurs living in the villages and rural areas who do not have social media handles. Concerned that implementation this CBN directive at this point may clearly be unnecessary, as it is likely to bear a lot of pressure on teeming Nigerian masses. Right, Mr. Speaker, we also took cognizance that implementing this CBN directive at this point may clearly be unnecessary. It is likely to bear a lot of pressure on teeming Nigerian masses. Mr. Speaker, again, we took cognizance of the need to revisit and halt the Central Bank of Nigeria directive to reduce the hardship and pain faced by teeming Nigerians. We resolve as follows: to urge the Central Bank of Nigeria to halt the implementation of this policy. 2, mandate the Committee on Banking and Currency, when constituted, to investigate the matter and report back within 3 weeks for further legislative action. Right, Mr. Speaker, thirdly, also mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance, when constituted, to ensure implementation of this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. With utmost respect, Mr. Speaker, if you permit me, I will meander my way and lay this motion before the House.
Any seconder?
I rise, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, to second this motion as moved by my honorable colleague and the co-sponsor of this motion. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues.
This motion should say aye. Aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. The second order of the day is a motion calling to suspend implementation of increase in tuition fees of universities, standing in the name of Honorable Aliyu Sani Madaki. Honorable Aliyu Sani Madaki is hereby invited to move the motion.
The Green Chamber equally moves against planned increase of tuition fees by some federal universities.
Call to suspend the increase in tuition fees by Nigerian universities. The House notes that, citing the poor funding of tertiary education and rising inflation in the country, federal universities across the country increased their tuition fees by 100 to 200%, while hostel fees were equally increased by 50 to 100%. Also note that universities that hike their fees include Bayero University, Kano, the University of Nigeria in Nsukka, the University of Uyo, University of Maiduguri, Michael Okpara University of Agriculture, Umadike, and Federal University Dutse, among others. Concerned that the hike in fees by the universities is happening against the worsening poverty level in the country, inflation, and high rate of unemployment, and the recent fuel hike. Also concerned that the increase could cause disruptions for a number of students who could not afford the fees, while many of them could be forced to defer their studies. Others could drop out. Worried that the hike may aggravate the already volatile situation in the country, as students are already making threats which could lead to an uprising with grievous consequences for the country as a whole. Also worried that an increased rate of university dropout may further worsen insecurity in Nigeria, as the frustrated student may find the wrong outlet to express their grievances. Cognizance that tertiary education is imperative in fostering growth, reducing poverty, and boosting the prosperity of any nation, resolved to urge the National University Commissions to immediately halt implementation of the increase of fees by federal universities. Mandate the Committee on Tertiary Education and Services, when constituted, to investigate the increase of fees by federal universities across the country with a view to finding lasting solutions to the challenges in the tertiary education sector. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. It's a motion on the need to establish the presence of a military outpost at Konar Maharba, a military base in Gada local government area of Goronyo/Gada Federal Constituency of Sokoto State, standing in the name of Honorable Bashir Usman Gorau. Honorable Gorau is hereby invited to move the motion.
I rise this afternoon to present this motion, a need to establish the presence of military outposts at Konar Mahalba, a military base in Gada local government area of Goronyo Gada Federal Constituency of Sokoto State. The House knows that security of lives and property is the primary responsibility of government, and that security is necessary for human existence and development. While insecurity in Nigeria is not peculiar to the particular region, however, Goronyo Gada Federal Constituency is most affected by banditry activities in the past and in the present time, Mr. Speaker. The stuff that banditry activities in Konar Mahalba resulted in the loss of over 40 lives, with over 200 persons kidnapped, while hundreds suffered a various degrees of injury over time, Mr. Speaker. What is that? The delay of the security agencies to abridge the continuous horror and inhumanity will result in the loss of lives, destruction of property, and immobilized socio-economic and educational development in communities. Also, what is that? If this is allowed to continue, Mr. Speaker, there will be food shortage, and people might resort to self-defense, which will lead to the total breakdown of law and order. Mr. Speaker, also note that the present exit vacuum of security presence in Goronyo Gada Federal Constituency, which have provided a fertile ground for insecurity to thrive. Further observe that the same Konar Maharba, Mr. Speaker, serve as a main point of entry for bandits coming out from Gondumi Forest, passing through Iyarda village, Kaikazaka village, Gidambuzu, Mahalba, to launch their attack on either eastern part of Sabon Birni local government, eastern part of Gada local government, or eastern part of Goronyo local government, Mr. Speaker. I therefore move for this prayer, Mr. Speaker. Prayer number 1. This Honorable House to observe a minute silence for the reports of victims of various banditry attack in Goronyo Gada Federal Constituency and the country at large. Mr. Speaker, prayer number 2, urging this Honorable House, urging the federal government to establish a military outpost in Konar Mahalba to intercept the data, activities, intercept and deter activities of bandits. Prayer number 3, Mr. Speaker, also urging the federal government to establish a permanent military base in the local government to ensure a swift response to the stress call and provided proactive approach to tackle insecurity, knowing very well that recently we are observing serious attacks in different communities in the local government. Mr. Speaker, prayer number 4, mandate the Committee on Army, when constituted, to ensure compliance. Mr. Speaker, I so move, vulnerably in need of this Honorable House consideration. Thank you.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Army when constituted. Fourth order of the day is the motion on the need to rehabilitate the abandoned Obudu Dam Resort project standing in the name of Honorable Peter Apampe. Honorable Apampe is invited to move the motion.
I rise to move a motion on the need to rehabilitate the abandoned Obudu Dam Resort project. The House knows that the federal government adopted the Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, in September 2015, among which is SDG 6 to ensure access to water and sanitation for all. The House also knows that the National Water Resource Master Plan was launched in 2013 by the federal government to provide access to potable water by utilizing the dams, which was reviewed and integrated into the SDG implementation plan, formed part of the guidelines for water sanitation and hygiene in healthcare facilities meant to improve sanitary conditions and prevent infectious diseases. Aware that the Obudu Dam Resort, a multi-purpose facility which provides water to over 60,000 people, as well serves as a recreational center, was flooded in 2005. This prompted the Cross River State government to assess a facility from the Independent Development Agency, IDA, to finance its rehabilitation. Recall that on August 14, 2012, the federal government awarded a contract worth 1.16 billion naira to Consolidated Construction Limited, CCL, for the rehabilitation of the dam resort. Also recall that the Water Bank in collaboration with the World Bank in collaboration with the Ministry of Water Resources and Cross River State Government Water Board Limited contracted Lilica Brothers Limited to construct a water treatment plant, with the second phase being the construction of reticulation channels to benefit neighboring communities. Aware that the dam was expected to facilitate the irrigation of about 100 hectares of agricultural land, boost fisheries, and promote tourism in the northern part of Cross River State, in line with the federal government's partnership for the expanded water supply, sanitation and hygiene, PW and the World Bank Assisted Sustainable Urban Renewal, Water Sanitation and Hygiene, Shortwash to improve public healthcare services and eradicate poverty in Nigeria to achieve SDG target 6.1 and 6.2 in the rural areas, improvement in urban small towns and rural water supply in the country. Worried that failure of the federal government to complete the Obudu Dam project has contributed to the further dwindling of revenues to the country, thus threatening the livelihoods of over 60,000 Nigerians who depend on the dam for water, sanitation and hygiene, as well as economic purposes. Also worried that if urgent attention is not taken, actions is not taken by the federal government to rehabilitate the dam, an outbreak of another disease is inevitable in Obudu Obanuku Bekwara Federal Constituency. Concerned that the continuous loss of lives occasioned by preventable action has become a norm that must be checked, the House resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Water Resources to resume the immediate rehabilitation of the Obudu Dam project and provide funds to relevant financial authorities. 2, mandate the Committee on Water Resources, when constituted, to investigate why the contract was abandoned and make recommendations. Mr. Speaker, dear honorable colleagues, I so move.
I rise to second the motions. Ably moved by my honorable colleague. I hear second.
Those against, you say nay. The ayes have it.
Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning to move an amendment of the second prayer, and it goes thus: mandate the Committee on Water Resources, when constituted, to investigate the contract, why the contract was abandoned, and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so moved.
I rise to second the amendment as ably moved by my colleague. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
You say aye. Those against, you say nay. The ayes have it. Those in support of this motion as amended, you say aye. Those against, you say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Water Resources, when constituted. The next, the fifth order of the day is a motion on the need to reverse the recent hike in school fees of Unity Secondary Schools in Nigeria, standing in the names of Honorable Said Musa Abdullahi and Honorable Kam Ikenna. Honorable Ikenna is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move the motion on the need to reverse the hike of school fees in Unity Secondary Schools in Nigeria. The House notes that federal unity schools were established to promote national unity and provide quality and affordable education to Nigerian students from different parts of the country, regardless of their socio-economic background. The House also knows that the federal government established 104 federal government colleges across the nation and adopted an enrollment policy which reflects the principle of federal character, as well as curriculum that targets patriotism, entrepreneurship, peaceful coexistence, and interrelationship. The House concerned that the facilities in Unity schools across the country are severely dilapidated, while the schools lack materials required for teaching, which has negatively affected the quality of teaching and student performance in general. The House also concerned that the recently approved increase in school fees for students in federal government colleges across the country by the Federal Ministry of Education has caused anxiety among parents and students who are still grappling with the effects of the economic hardship caused by the recent subsidy removal. The House also worried that as a result of the new school fees regime, many parents are considering withdrawing their words from schools as they are unable to meet up with the fees. Hence, the country may have to deal with the dire consequences of having an alarming number of out-of-school children. The House also worried that the increment will likely lead to a decline in student enrollment in these schools, which were originally intended to be affordable, the impact of which will be on the already declining quality of education and the overall development of Nigeria. The House, aware that the federal government has a responsibility to ensure that education remains accessible and affordable, especially during difficult economic times. The House cognizant that education is essential for the progress of any country as it contributes to social stability and drives long-term economic growth. The House hereby resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Education to review the new school fees regime in federal government colleges and revert to the old regime. The House also urged the federal government to adequately fund the education sector by increasing budgetary provision to ensure that Nigerian students have access to quality and affordable basic and senior secondary education. The House mandates
the Committee on Basic Education, when constituted, to investigate the hike in school fees for students of federal government colleges across the country, to ensure that basic education remains accessible and affordable to Nigerians, and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Basic Education when constituted. The sixth order of the day is a motion on the need to stop excess charges and illegal deductions by commercial banks in Nigeria, standing in the name of Honorable Godwin Ofiano. Honorable Ofiano is hereby invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I rise to move a motion on the need to stop excess charges and illegal deduction by commercial banks in Nigeria, as is duly listed on the motion paper of this day. The House notes that some banks and financial institutions in Nigeria indulge in unethical practices of fleecing their customers through excess charges and unauthorized deductions. Mr. Speaker, dear honorable colleagues, the House equally notes that customers of different commercial banks are groaning over excessive charges on their accounts. The financial institutions known as deposit money banks, DMS, have reportedly introduced different deductions to increase their income, a development that is uncomfortable with customers. Mr. Speaker, dear honorable colleagues, the House is aware that apart from stamp duty, bank customers also pay value-added tax charges applicable on all vatable transactions in their accounts. The House is also aware that commercial banks are charging outrageous interest on loans and overdrafts at a rate that is higher than that agreed on offer letters. The House is further aware of the arbitrary increase in the interest rates on loans and overdrafts, an increase in other fees without notifying and getting customers' consent as stipulated in the Central Bank Chartered Institute of Bankers of Nigeria's guidelines. Mr. Speaker, dear honorable colleagues, the House is very concerned that the creation of charges not recognized in the Central Bank guidelines to bank charges is a common practice by commercial banks. Mr. Speaker, the House is also concerned about the wrong application of maintenance fees, banks overcharging maintenance fees, inclusion of transaction exempted from maintenance charges, loan liquidation, and bank-induced transactions, among others. Mr. Speaker, dear honorable colleagues, the House is worried that as affected customers attempt to lodge complaints, the bank customers care, they are treated as beggars without result. Mr. Speaker, dear honorable colleagues, the House resolves to 1, mandate the Committee on Banking and Currency, when constituted, to investigate the issue of excess charges and illegal deductions by commercial banks in Nigeria, and return within 4 weeks for further actions. Mr. Speaker, very dear honorable colleagues, the House further resolve, secondly and lastly, to also mandate the Committee on Legislative Compliance, when constituted, to ensure implementation. Mr. Speaker, very dear honorable colleagues, I so move. Thank you.
this afternoon I rise to second the motion as ably moved by my brother. I so second.
Other resolutions to bridge infrastructure gaps.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Banking and Currency when constituted. The seventh order of the day is a motion on the need to rehabilitate the Benin Epoma Auchi Road to Okene, Kogi State, standing in the name of Honorable Marcos Onobun. Honorable Onobin is invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning to move a motion on the need to rehabilitate the Benin Epoma Auchi Road to Okene, Kogi State. Mr. Speaker, that the House notes that Benin Epoma Auchi Road is the only road that connects the south-south to the northern part of Nigeria. The House also notes that the deplorable condition of the road calls for federal government intervention as the road user spends between 5 to 7 hours in gridlocks daily. That the House further notes that the rehabilitation of this road was awarded to Dantata and Sowe Company Limited in year 2012, but was abandoned in the last 11 years. The House is aware that the road has not witnessed any rehabilitation as commuters and heavy-duty vehicles find it very difficult to transport the perishable and non-perishable goods en route north to south from the southern part to northern part of Nigeria. The House also is aware that Section 10F of the Federal Highway Act, empowered by the Minister of the Federal Ministry of Works to carry out the reconstruction and rehabilitation and maintenance of federal roads. The House is concerned that with the deep potholes and gully erosion ravaging the road and caused by torrential rainfall, it has not only become a death trap for commuters, but also residents for the adjoining communities and also breeding ground for robbery and criminal activities. That the House resolve, 1, urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Federal Road Maintenance Agency, FEMA, to provide palliative measures on the road to ease movement of goods and services. 2, that the House mandates the Committee on Works and Federal Road Maintenance Agency, when constituted, to investigate the cause of the abandonment and report back within 4 weeks for further legislative action. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order, Rule 5, Order 5, Rule 3, privileges. So on the 6th of July, that was last parliamentary sitting here, this same motion was moved because there's only one road from Benin to Auchi, and that motion was moved then by Honorable Okoji, and it's been passed. And I don't see no reason why this motion is being moved again. Thank you.
But to wait until when the whole motion has been read before you raise the point of order, I would have expected you at the time when he was given the floor to raise it. I think it is only proper to allow him to conclude. So we'll put the question. Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. Who will second this motion? Honorable Martin.
Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon to second the motion as ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Marcos Onobon. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Works when constituted. The eighth order of the day is a motion on terrorist attacks on Mangu communities in Mangu Bokos Federal Constituency of Plateau State, standing in the name of Honorable Lalu Ishai David. Honorable David is hereby invited to move the motion.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, I rise to move the motion on terrorist attack on Mangu communities of Mangu Bokos Federal Constituency of Plateau State. The House notes the recent terrorist attack on the people of Mangu local government and neighboring communities, killing more than 300 persons and other serious injuries, properties destroyed, and over 18,000 people displaced at different IDP camps within the local government area. The House also notes that most of the victims that sustained various degrees of injuries are currently receiving medical attention at different hospitals within the state. The House worried that the continuous attack by the terrorist group in the communities, if not addressed immediately, will lead to low farming yield, which will worsen the existing food uncertainty in the communities. The House also resolved to 1. Observe a minute of silence as a mark of respect to those killed in the terror attack in the Mangu local government area of Plateau State. The House also to resolve urge the Secretary to the Government of the Federation to direct the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Disaster Management, and Social Development through the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, and the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants, and Internally Displaced Persons to immediately provide relief material to the victims of the attack in communities within the Mangu local government area surveillance and support to flush out the terrorists and destroy their camps to avoid reoccurrence and allow innocent farmers to return to their farms and ancestral homes. Also urge the Inspector General of Police to immediately provide mobile police force squadron formation in the affected communities to safeguard the lives of our people in compliance with Chapter 2 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended, particularly Section 14, Sub 2B, which clearly states thus that the security and welfare of the people shall be the primary purpose of government. And lastly, the House resolved to mandate the committees on emergency and disaster preparedness, defense, army, air force, police, and legislative compliance when constituted to ensure compliance and report weekly until the insecurity is under control. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
I rise to second the motion ably moved by my colleague. I so second.
Those in support of this motion should say aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Emergency and Disaster Preparedness, Defense, Army, Air Force, Police, Legislative Compliance. And the prayer also sought for us to observe a minute silence. So shall we also rise again in honor of the departed? May the soul of the departed rest in peace. Order of the day is a motion on the need to lift the ban on sale of fuel in communities 20 kilometers to international land borders, standing in the name of Honorable Adeboyega Nasir Isiaka. Honorable Isiaka is hereby invited to move the motion.
The motion I humbly bring to the House this afternoon is in respect of the need to lift the ban on sale of petroleum products in communities 20 kilometers to international land borders of Nigeria. The House will recall that in November 2019, the Nigeria Customs Service announced the ban on sales and supply of petroleum products in all communities within 20 kilometers of the Nigerian land borders, which measures approximately 4,047 kilometers. The House is also aware that the ban was apt at the time to prevent smuggling of subsidized petroleum products to Nigerian neighboring countries. The House worried that despite the removal of the subsidy on petroleum products by the government since May 2023, the ban is yet to be lifted, thus causing hardship to millions of Nigerians living and conducting businesses within the affected areas, which covers about 15 states of the Federation, including Ogun State. People that will have to travel many kilometers to get the products or pay extra amounts to secure the product for their daily needs. Cognizant that the ban has continued to impact negatively on socio-economic activities in the affected areas, despite that smuggling is no longer attractive. The House is hereby asked to resolve as follows, Number one, to all the federal government to review the policy toward lifting the ban on the sale of fuel within 20 kilometers to the Nigerian land borders, as fuel subsidy has been effectively removed. Two, all the Nigerian Customs Service and other relevant government agencies to ensure immediate stoppage of the ban, thus allowing duly registered fuel stations within these communities to be supplied with the products. And three, mandate the Committee on Custom and Excise, when constituted, to ensure implementation of this resolution. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder?
I rise to second the motion moved by Brother Isiaka Nosiru. I so second.
Aye. Those against should say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Custom and Excise when constituted. The 10th order of the day is the motion on the need for reconstruction of the Ileme-One axis of the East-West Road, standing in the name of Honorable Felix Uche Nwake. Honorable Nwake is invited to move the motion.
I rise this afternoon to move this all-important motion, need for reconstruction of the Ileme-One axis of the East-West Road. Mr. Speaker, the House knows that the East-West Road project, which is a 338-kilometer road covering Warri to Oron through Kayama and Ahoda, Port Harcourt to Ogoni and Eket, was awarded in 2006 in 4 sections. Also note that section 1 and 2 covering Warri to Kayama and Eket was completed, while section 3 from Eleme Junction to One Port Junction was abandoned. Further note that in December 2014, this contract for section 3 was awarded to Mrs. Arusisi, Nigeria Limited, in contract reference number MDNA/PROC/CAP/14/89/23 to upgrade and expand the road from a dual carriageway to a 3-lane dual carriageway. Further note, aware that the Ileme-One axis of the East-West Road is a highway access to 2 seaports, the Eleme Refinery, Indurama Eleme Petrochemicals Limited, NAFCON, and the One Oil and Gas Free Zone that houses over 200 companies, amongst others, which generate revenue to the federal government. Worried that the deplorable state of the Ileme-One axis of the
East-West Road has continued to claim the lives and property, including loss of businesses occasioned by the falling containers conveying goods and products, thus leading to protests by the indigenous of the Eleme and One communities. Also worried that the federal government will continue to lose revenue if the road is not reconstructed. The House resolves to urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to immediate prioritize the reconstruction of the Eleme-One axis of the East-West Road. 2, also urge the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to ensure the contractor is mobilized to site and commences reconstruction of the Eleme-One axis of the East-West Road immediately. Mandate the Committee on Works, when constituted, to ensure implementation. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Right, Honorable Speaker, with utmost respect, I hereby second the motion as moved by my colleague. I so second.
As amended, you say aye. Those against, you say nay. The ayes have it. This motion is referred to the Committee on Works when constituted.
I move that this House do adjourn to tomorrow, the 12th day of July. I so move. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
22 bills passed first reading at Tuesday's plenary, including the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2023.
Rise to second the motion that the House do stand adjourned. I so second.
The House is hereby adjourned to tomorrow.
This particular 10th House of Representatives were very, very particular about making lives very meaningful and a lot easier for Nigerians, okay? And that is why we're always very eager to entertain infrastructural motions. A couple of them have been moved since the life of this 10th House of Representatives began, and it has always been unanimous to see that these motions are supported, okay? Because yes, you may come from a particular area, but when we travel across Nigeria, the roads do not know whether you come from this constituency or this constituency. So this is one of the things that unite us, infrastructure, okay? And we're always happy to receive it and to support it. And the resolutions of the House are truly in favor of these infrastructural motions for national development. Of course, you know, security is also paramount. Without security, nothing can be achieved, okay? And security is A on our list, okay? It's a top priority for this House. And as much as the motions that come for security-related matters, we give it accelerated attention. And I know that Nigerians will be much, much happy with this House of Representatives because we are going to continue to support security requests and motions.
The motions we have had in this last week or this present week are people-oriented motions. Like I would always say, the 10th Assembly has come with a lot of vibrancy and a mix of experience and new ideas that have come with the new members. And the House is infused with a fusion of ideas that I am particularly impressed that we are able to harp on the needs of the Nigerian people And our core essence is to represent the needs and aspirations, opinions of citizens, and in the best interests of the country. And so those motions, like you say, are motions that have a human face, that would put the situations in line with the current realities of the people whose interests are concerned. And those would be like the Nigerian parents and Nigerian students who are still battling with paying fees. I think it will be out of place to start encouraging hikes in school fees right now. But I would also want to look at it from the point of the administrators of these high institutions and tertiary institutions. You know, the cost of even running education is high. So I think that overall the solution might be to allocate adequate resources to the education sector so that we are able to deploy the necessary resources for tertiary and basic education. That way we take off the burden that is now being intended to be passed on the parents and the students. So that motion came rightly. And in the Speaker, in his wisdom, referred it rightly to these committees when constituted. There would be an aspect of investigation, because we need to also hear from the schools, like I say, to balance it off. And the other one is the motion on about the CBN Know Your Customer, KYC. I think the KYC system has been a long practice. Everyone who banks with any commercial institution will be aware that Know Your Customers is usually something that is done by the staff of the bank. I don't think it's always been at the extent of the at the instance of the customer. So I don't think it's right if the customer has to bear extra cost in what I term as part of the bank's exercise in carrying out its own mandate of offering financial services for the people. So if you add all of those huge ancillary incidental costs to the customer, it becomes a means or a form of financial exclusion or undue and arbitrary charges to the customers. I think it's burdensome, and I don't subscribe to extra charges by commercial banks as to the KYC system.
Okay, what about the resolution to halt banks obtaining the social media handles of customers?
Well, that also now leads you to the privacy code of customers. How well have banks been able to manage the information and security data software that they deploy in their association with customers? I think there are doubts as to how the privity of contracts, I'm banking with you, and it should be like a contract between the both of us. So I think there is a fear, a perceived fear, that might lead to unwholesomeness, where fraudsters who are always on the prowl on the internet could have access to these handles and begin to do further extortions and false calls on the customers. So I think for now, it's in the right direction. We are facing a lot more in the social space, as it were. So let's play low on all of that and work with the president to ensure that the country is gaining more on this same single rate that the president has instilled. Those are the benefits that the banks, I think, should help the customers to enjoy most, and not all of these other ones.
It falls back to the poor masses. I can tell you that if you allow them to implement this policy they want to implement now, the poor Nigerians are going to suffer it. The people at the rural areas, where do they have network? Do they even have phone? Do they have smartphones? They don't even have network. How much more having access to social media? So the motion is to rescue the poor masses, to rescue those illiterate, to rescue those uneducated people that are not able to access social media, or that doesn't even have the phone to access smartphones, more or less coming to be in social media. So I don't think it's necessary for CBN to come up with that rules and regulations. And come to think of it, when you open an account, you have your passport, you have your BVN, you have your utility bill. In fact, they went as far as bringing out NIN numbers, which everybody comply to. At this point, when you allow this pressure become much on the masses, then what are we doing here? So you cannot tell me that CBN will tell somebody bring your the banks will request for passports, they will request for utility bill, they will request for all kind of identity, and you supply them, and you expect the poor woman, the poor man at home to go and get a smartphone. He's not even educated, so you are trying to tactically exclude them in the banking system. So I don't think it's a good idea. So I want to call on the CBN at this point to let the poor breathe. They've suffocated them enough.
The current situation of the country and the hardship that the students are undergoing is very uncalled for the tertiary institutions to increase tuition fee. By doing so, that's when many Nigerians will no longer go to schools. Even when the tuition fee is at a normal level, still the student cannot afford to go to school. So by allowing that to happen, definitely 80% of our younger generation can no longer go to school because the hardship of the country is uncalled for. Everybody knows the situation we're in. So like I told you, I was a co-sponsor of the motion, also part of the motion, and it's really a very good one. And I think the main sponsor of the motion, who is Honorable Ali Madaki, I think he did well in bringing the motion. And it's a very good time that he brought it.
Okay. The House also talked about the motion seeking the lifting of the ban of fuel supplies to some of the border communities. What do you have to say about this resolution?
Yeah, you know, I'm from Zamfara State. I still have that issue. I still have a border to Niger Republic, and to me also it's also good because by not lifting the ban, it didn't add anything to us. I don't know what we achieved by banning the supply of diesel to them. I don't know what we achieved. So lifting the ban is a good one because we can generate more revenue, we can sell more of our oil, and a lot of generation and the business will continue to boost around the area. I think it's okay, that one.
Generally in Nigeria, the security is very poor. Not that we don't have the gadgets. We have the gadgets, we have the trained officers, but I don't know what is happening, how to tackle this issue of security. Is a problem for this country, and we are only praying to see that we have a good, suitable country so that everybody can be okay and work within the country without any hitch.
The House has taken a very step in the right direction by calling on the government to take the right step in halting the killing of in Plateau. Just like the House did, the President has also given directive to security agencies to permanently bring an end to this killing in Plateau. The killing of this week is one too many that has been happening in Plateau. It's not only in Plateau, other sections of the country are witnessing the kind of killing. But the one in Plateau is disturbing. It is, I think the House has taken the right step in the right direction by directing that thing has to stop. Security agencies have to live up to their expectations and see that the killing in Plateau and other parts of the country are brought permanently to an end.
I move a motion specifically on the killings and attacks of terrorists, bandits in Bokmongo local government area of Plateau State, and which happened to be my constituency, which happened to be my local government of origin. Sincerely, it is devastating, and it is something that has never happened in the history of Plateau State, that we had a crisis in Mongo local government. It's one of the most united and peace-loving people in Plateau State. And therefore, it becomes surprising to us. But when I look into these issues generally, I felt there are some strategic steps that government need to take and to put in place to mitigate and eradicate such things reoccurrence generally in Plateau State and Nigeria at large. One of those things is to encourage and intensify effort towards capacity building and empowerment of traditional institutions, because traditional institutions are more of the grassroots and respected people in their various communities, and therefore they have the most vital informations of intelligent gathering has to do with the insecurity. But your opportunity to bring them more closer to you as government and build confidence in them to be able to give you such information is what matters. And therefore we need them, because I believe they have all the vital information we need security-wise. Secondly, the youths. We need to empower the youths. But I look at it from one angle. Empowering youth is not all about employment. What about those that have not gone to school? And the most easiest way of doing this to me is for Nigerian government to diversify the issue of electricity, build confidence on people. Let's have a steady power. When you are paying money for power, it will paint you at a certain time, because we say necessity is the mother of invention. And therefore, when you are paying money and you are not utilizing it to generate another money with it, you make your brain to think positively on what you can do with this excess power at your disposal. And therefore, it will make our youth to be creative, and it will power them and increase per capita income of the Nigerian economy and gross domestic products. And thirdly, issue of having dual responsibility of security. Security is a very sensitive issue, and you need not somebody that will be fatigued all the time because of double responsibility. It affects and intoxicates the brain, and it makes you to become weak in taking up your responsibility. Therefore, diversifying diversified the responsibility is good. In the past, we usually have the commanding GOC, because Plateau State Jos is we have GOC 3rd Armored Division. So initially, the GOC of the 3rd Armored Division is one person. Another different officer commanding Operation Safe Haven is another different person. But now they are fusing the responsibility. And I felt in my own advice, they should still split it. Let have the person commanding Operation Safe Haven, because this is sole responsibility of the defense, while GOC is Nigerian Army. So let's split it for equity, for good responsibilities, for so that they will be always in a sound mind to take a particular and specific responsibility to achieve this. And therefore, I feel with this separation of power, it will yield a positive result to us. And therefore, I look at it, the government need to bring religious leaders, because some of these religious leaders always have some inciting words. Some people in their own place of worship, whether Christian or Muslim, will begin to incite people that they should go and defend themselves. My brother, how do you defend yourself when you don't have nothing? You see a community, let me, because I'm coming from the political aspect of it, I will permit me to use registered voters. There are communities and wards that have more than 10,000 registered voters. You hardly see one with a gun. How would they go and defend themselves? When somebody is coming with 200 people coming with AK-47, how do you defend yourselves? So let's bring the religious body closer to government. Take them as friends. We always have a capacity building on securities architecture of this country, and how to take care of people and how to manage your followers and what you can be able to tell them, so that we can have a lasting peace, so that we can be able to forgive each other.
And that's it today on the program from the National Assembly House of Representatives. We thank you so much for watching, and look out for another episode of the program next week. I am Itaire Ikben. Bye for now.